I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates whatever we want that doesn't make us scabs. I am Rachel Quirky Shank, solidarity forever.
And I am Matt, aka Stormer. Wow, that was great. Clearly, I can't speak. Probably will make the final edit anyway. I am at aka Stormageddon, and clearly I am very tired. But also solidarity with the striking workers.
Forever. For all
Forever.
time. Hey, it's still going because these rich weirdos just really need their super yachts.
Yep,
Remember,
and
they just like a small portion of the vast wealth that they have accumulated could cover all of these needs, these human needs that these very talented human beings require to keep living. So, hello, rich ghouls. Please lick my sparkly ass.
Even as of when we were recording, the video game portion of the voice acting community is also voting to see whether they will strike or not, since their contract is coming up. So, who knows? Once that happens, just animation is the only one left, and who knows? Depending on how long this goes, it could be everyone. But this is not a show about strikes, although sort of it is at this point. It is a show where we talk about things and stuff.
Screen strike.
Screen strike.
That's our show now.
But our guest is a returning guest, the one and only, incredibly delightful and talented, the one Matty Limerick. Matt, thank you for joining us.
Hi, friends. It's so good to be back on Screen Snark.
Yeah, it's so good to have you back. You're the kind of strike that happens in bowling, the best kind. All strikes all the way down.
Oh my god. Don't stop. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. It's just like you've struck my heart with Cupid's arrow. I'm full of love for you, Matty Limerick. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, I'm always full of love for both of you. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, always.
A little inside baseball. Usually I send he who shall not be named the photo that he uses for our episode art, but and usually I have to find something or ask the guest. Matty, though, won't be a problem. Just go to Matty's Instagram and is looking fashionable left and right, beep, all over the world. It's gonna be super easy for me this time.
Barely an inconvenience.
Barely. All right, well, as always, we're going to talk about the most recent thing we've encountered, engaged with. And we changed up the order the last few times. Rachel, do you want to go first again?
I do. I'm breaking all of the rules. They're breaking. I'm breaking them. I'm smashing them to pieces.
Smash them.
Today I would like very much to discuss the new Jeff Rosenstock album, Hell Mode.
Hey, yeah.
Oh boy, I have been a Jeff Rosenstock fan for many, many years. I'm gonna start this with a little story. I was supposed to see Jeffrey, King of My Heart Rosenstock, during the Ska Dreams tour, and a couple days before I had tickets to go see this, I went to a little wrestle show called Industrial World Wrestling, at a little place called The Place Where I Train, and I saw this incredible wrestling show, and got COVID.
Oh,
and then I couldn't see Jeff Rosenstock. So every time something new of his comes out, I am met with the supreme delight of an incredible artist, and also that weird sorrow of I almost saw you, but I got COVID instead. But Hell Mode is a really fun new album. A few of the tracks got dropped a bit early. They're really, really good bops. And honestly, this album's going to be my companion for the next few days. It is a vibe. It is a flow. It's a real good lesson in track order selection. They just I was listening to it in the shower the first time, and I was just in the zone. It was just this is great. Just it's so good. I love Jeff Rosenstock, and a lot of times when I'm listening to him, especially when his new stuff comes up, and I guess I can talk a little bit about this because it's not struck yet. He writes the music for the show Craig of the Creek. So like when I
cool.
listen to his stuff and I'm not super like thinking about it, I'm like, Craig of the Creek, hello. And this has like that same voice all through it. I just adore what Jeff does. I do think he released his like best tracks as like singles before the whole record came out, because like Doubt and Heal Mode just they stick with me. They're so musically interesting. Like the soft lilting of Heal Mode is just a complete antithesis to a lot of that harder stuff that Jeff does all the time. It's got this really nice patter sound, especially because he's talking about the rain, and it's like like talking about the rain, like pitter pattering on the leaves and the trees and all this. It's such a beautiful record already. It's become my friend. So I highly recommend it. I also recommend like Jeff Rosenstock as an artist. Ska Dreams is a complete ska remake of No Dream, which is my favorite. I adore ska. And one great YouTuber who makes a lot of really wonderful ska covers of things, Ska 2 Network, actually plays some brass on that record and was gonna play the ska show, so I almost saw Jer. I'm so mad that I didn't. I'm just gonna keep going back to how I almost saw Jeff Rosenstock. But good news, everyone! This Thursday, I am seeing him for real, for real.
Amazing.
Go. Hopefully, I'll hear some of the No Dream stuff and it'll make it up. But if I just hear all of Hell Mode, I'm also fine with that because it's good. It's good.
So two things. One, back on Crash Chords, my now defunct music podcast, way back in episode 148, Steve, John, and I covered We Cool by Jeff Rosenstock, which was my introduction to him and was a great record. I really loved it. Has become one of my favorites. So I'm excited for the new one, but I'm curious, even though I know how his music usually sounds for our listeners, but since we don't cover a ton of music, could you describe what Jeff Rosenstock's kind of broader sound is? I know he's a little all over the place, but like, can you kind of give like a broad kind of description?
Yelly punk.
There you go.
It's definitely very much like upkey punk kind of aesthetics, you know. Even here on Hell Mode, you've got this one track. There's also recently a single, Liked You Better, where the hook is, I liked you better when you weren't on my mind, and like in the background he's just yelling, just get the hell out. It's really got that like oomph, that pump, that punk aesthetic you really like, which why a lot of his stuff leans so well into that ska too, because it's got that like good like pick it up rhythm all through it, and then just like some good biting lyrics. We love a good up tempo song where you're just like, I thought of you again and I don't want to tell my friends, don't want to scare them off, and don't want to be judged, and just like saying like, it's so fucking tired being tired all the time, you know, just like these feelings are so big. There's one great line, let's stop building bridges, let's start digging graves, I think is the lyric, and it's just like that idea, you know.
That's
and
good.
So yeah, it's just
That's so good.
It was a great getting ready record.
Nice. Yeah, I actually I had forgotten we could talk about music on here, and there are a bunch of albums I would love to chat about, and also I have this longing to talk about music since Crash Chords kind of went on a definite hiatus quite a long time ago now at this point. But yeah, I really recommend Jeff Rosenstock, also especially if you're like looking for something a little off the beaten path, a little different, kind of an indie vibe. Like, even though he's been around for a while now, he's still kind of got that indie vibe. He's definitely mostly, you know, self-produced, self-worked, and so like if you're looking for something a little dirtier, I highly recommend it, because it's garagey a bit, but it's not garagey in the way like a demo is. It's garagey in this kind of like raw emotional way, I would describe at least his previous work.
Yeah, I'm looking at his Spotify page because I'm now like, how does the page describe it? And it says increasingly chaotic albums.
Yeah.
For an increasingly chaotic world. Like, and it's really true. They have such a like breathless, restless energy. I think that is also why his music suits so well for a cartoon about children playing with their imaginations in a creek.
Yeah, totally. Well,
you know.
Rachel, if you had to sum up Jeff Rosenstock's Hell Mode, and you can't use the words Jeff or Rosenstock, although I don't know why you would, and Hell Mode, which is technically one word as his album title,
Yeah.
What 3 words would you use to describe this incredible record?
Oh gosh.
I believe in you. You've got this. Harder when it's music, right?
I know, right? Because like the thing about it is music is a bunch of words, and I'm like, well, I could use some lyrics to describe it, and it's just like, oh, oh God, this is difficult. I suddenly empathize with all of our guests through all of these years. Oh boy, damn. Nope, hold on. I want to use a lyric from Doubt because it's too many words. I literally have to look at the lyrics of the freaking Doubt just to be like, what's a good 3 word? Because Doubt is such a good song that like even if you don't listen to this record, just listen to Doubt.
You got this.
Yeah, no. Slow motion breakdown.
There you go.
There it is. That's in the song. Like, pantomime for hell. But Jesus, Jeffrey. pantomime for help. You mustn't. It's so good. It's so good.
Excellent.
Also, if you watch the music video for Heal Mode, it is footage of a snail, and that snail is named Champion.
Nice. Crossover.
Friendship.
Crossover. You love it. Friendship. Also, previous guest of the show, Jala Prendez, aka Jala-chan, recommended that we do
future previous guest,
right? Because we're
sitting on that episode,
right? But she recommended we do music videos, and this is a good, cool, like introduction to that because music videos, for the most part, depending on how they're cast, are not sad.
I could talk about the Doubt music video. It's a completely animated sequence of somebody trying to kill a meteor that's coming to his little cabin.
All right.
And it's incredible. And it's beautiful. And I love it. And it doesn't, again, it's just one of those, like, does it align perfectly with the song? No, but the idea is there, like, kill all the doubt or the doubt will never go away. Like the doubt is like this it's check it out. Listen to the song, watch the music video, listen to the whole record. Buy it on vinyl. Support Jeff Rosenstock because I love him.
Support artists and art, not corporations.
Not corporations who want to,
as the diehard Nintendo fan,
eat our
who
souls
the
out of us instead of allowing us to grow and change and shape the world through art.
Well, I think we're going to continue the chaos and continue to go out of order and let our guests go next. So, Matty, we didn't mention that you're actually recording and chatting with us from a cruise ship that you're on. We're going to get more into that in the interview section.
On a boat.
But what is the most recent thing you have engaged with that you have brought?
So, until recently, Wi-Fi is the one thing that is just like not always super dependable, especially for a cruise ship employee. I'm on cruise, so I'm not just, here vacationing. This is where I work. And we just got, I don't want to rep the brand because their owner's evil, but it is a really great amount of Wi-Fi. So like getting into this, but because of that, it's just been me and my Kindle for a lot of this. So I've been reading a lot of things that I've had downloaded on my Amazon or my list for a while. But I, for a long time, have been a fan of a writer named Chuck Tingle. Tingle,
I love Chuck
Tingle. Well, and so I had never read a lot of his work, but I love what he stands for. I consider myself a buckaroo. Always push the new works because that man writes faster than anyone else. And for anyone at home, you're going, I don't know if I know. You've probably seen it, especially if you're even remotely queer on social media. His stuff's like pounded in the butt by the existential dread that I'll never be able to buy a house. Like it's so funny and political, but also spicy. But he wrote a novella. So I'm bringing 2 little things that are the same vibe. He wrote a novella in 2021 post-pandemic called Straight, which was in the concept of a world where a cosmic rift opens up one night a year and it causes all cis straight people to go insane like feral zombies. And they develop a vaccine and you follow these 4 queer friends who are trying to wait out the night. And so it's called Straight. It is insane body horror suspense, which is something I've just recently gotten into. But it brings up a lot of questions of how queer people kind of like look at allyship and how we look at our relationship with straight people, but then also kind of it's very straightforward about Chuck's opinions of vaccination and kind of how people were handling the COVID vaccine, because it came out probably 3 months after the vaccine became available. And so it was very evident, on the nose without being too much. But it was one of those things that I've recently gotten horror in the last few years because of the pandemic, actually. And it had me so enraptured. I think I read the whole thing in an hour and a half. Like, it's so fast. And then I only visited that because I saw that his newest book, which is what they're calling his foray into horror, even though I consider Straight to be his first kind of horror jaunt, is a book called Camp Damascus, which deals with a deeply religious sect, extremist sect of Christianity, situated in Montana, and it's connected with a conversion therapy camp. And the way that Tingle has the ability to write a first-person journey is absolutely amazing to me, because his other work is so silly and fun, and we don't even know what he looks like, and that's kind of like his whole shtick. But like, I guess growing up deeply religious, this one hit me a little harder too. But it really combined this beautiful way of like working through out and around religion as queer people, what that means to us, what it means to find solace in faith despite being queer, but then also really tying in some insane like supernatural horror, which was really, really cool to read. And it was another one that I was like, oh, this will take me a little while to read. Literally 4 hours, I had like started and finished the whole book. It was just, I went up on our like crew deck, and it was just so cool. And he paints the most vivid images with words, which is what we always want out of a good book. But like, I had no question about what I was reading, like what I was envisioning, because I'm very cinematic in the brain when I'm reading, and it was just so enjoyable to read. But it was bone chilling. I felt sick to my stomach at times, and I just, it was so, it was just such a release at the end, and a lot of the twists I did not see coming, which I've devoured so much kind of horror and thriller recently that it's always so great when I can't see certain things coming. It's always so much more of a rush.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have to say I have been deeply enamored with the work of Chuck Tingle. I actually have the tabletop role-playing book, Bad Boys and Buckaroos. So you could like play a D&D version of like Chuck Tingle's world. It's quite silly and quite charming.
Yeah.
And I agree, definitely, the way that his first person narrative can really like take you away. I listened to a podcast that was just readings of his works. It was the eldest McElroy reading the one about Tide Pods, about pounded in the butt by a sentient Tide Pod named Tad Pod. And just like hearing someone else read this like Tide Pod erotica, I was like, this is kind of hot. Oh God. Hello? Help.
Welcome
send an adult,
to my
please.
world. Questionable attraction to
I
creatures.
have the weirdest boner right now. Who knew? Could not imagine. It was a delight. I'm very excited to see Chuck sort of move into, no, I don't want to say more legitimate work, but you know, like more mainstreamable, bankable work. Yeah, because I want Chuck to chase that paper so bad.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, and especially because he is, I believe, pretty independently published. Like, I don't think he has a huge publisher behind him. He publishes so much digitally. Like, really, it's great to watch. Well, and I also love that, like, he was like, oh, J.K. Rowling wants to be a turf piece of shit. Let me do an entire trans lesbian universe of magic and dinosaurs. And I'm just like, yes. Harriet Plorber, yes. And so, yeah, it is amazing to see that, like, he has such a fan base that's going to support him, but also whoever's behind him publishing, that they're just like, Yeah, pop off, dude. Like, but also just the fact that he is so unapologetic in his perspective and the
Mhm.
story that he's willing to tell, even if it makes him not as popular, he wants to tell that story, which I think when we're talking about like ethical consumption of media under capitalism, this
Yeah.
is one of those things we're talking about that like this is a thing. And I've really one of my other cast members on board is another very out queer person. And we just like geek about the books that we're reading. And a lot of what we've been saying recently is I was like, I only really want to consume queer stories. Like I'm just
Mhm.
at that point, I'm almost 40. There's just so much, and it's not even just like the oh, I don't want to mention the title because it's a movie, but like the hot new Amazon gay movie that came out this summer, and just like the things that are so mainstream. I want all aspects of music and YouTube and all art. I just want to take through everything that is just so unapologetically queer, and that's really all I want to take in right now. And so
Yeah.
this really hit that spot in a way that nothing else has really fulfilled recently, which was just chef's kiss.
Yeah. I love that.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Either queer stories or stories that don't have romance at all.
Yeah.
In fact,
or
what I
pro
brought
wrestling. I've just been watching a lot of pro
pro
wrestling.
wrestling. I mean, there's romance in pro wrestling. There's queerness in
Yeah.
pro wrestling.
Oh my gosh. I just
There is.
saw one of my head coaches kiss another guy and get then thrown into a dumpster. It's
Nice.
If that's not queer culture, I don't know what the fuck is, y'all. I don't know what to
I'm
tell
about
you.
to say that's the dream. That's a
This is
literal
the
dream.
That's
Yeah,
the dream.
there you go. Like my training. I want to fill my life with queerness. My school is very gay. My Russell School T2T. We're very gay. That's my 3-word review.
Very good.
We're very queer.
I love
Hold
it.
on, we're very queer.
Well, Matty, if you had to sum up both of these works by Chuck Tingle using just 3 words, you can't
Yeah.
divide it.
Mhm.
You can't sum them both up. It's both
Both,
straight
yeah, you made
and
it so
camped them out.
hard.
You've got to sum them both
Mhm.
up with the same 3 words. You can't use any of the titles or Chuck's name. What 3 words
Got
would you
it.
choose?
Suspenseful, traumatic, and cathartic.
There you go. Love that.
Suspenseful. What
What
you
great.
know?
Perfect.
If you could also sum up the queer experience in just 3 words.
Right, exactly.
Suspenseful, traumatic, and cathartic.
Also, I know it kills you, Matty, that you haven't been able to come to FlameCon yet, but I do have to mention that I did meet Chuck Tingle at
I
FlameCon
hate
briefly.
you so much
'cause
for
he was
that,
wandering.
Matthew.
He was-
Matholum,
Please
you
tell me he had
Stormageddon.
the please tell me he had the pillow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he walked
he's
around.
he
He
walked
walked around with the
I
pillowcase
saw
on his head.
Did
Matty,
he have
I saw a
the
video.
pillowcase on?
Yeah, the
Mhm.
pillowcase with the sunglasses. I saw his entrance to one of his panels, and I shared it to my wrestling class. And I went, "It's weird to know that that an erotica author has a more powerful entrance than some wrestlers I know." Chuck Tingle is not just a guy. Chuck Tingle is an entity, a powerful force of
No.
nature, and he entered that space like a goddamn champ.
It was pretty brilliant. But thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely check those out. I've been looking for more digestible stuff to read because I'm a slow reader, and so like a novella might be more my speed.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was less than $17 or $18 for both of the books.
Oh, cool.
For the digital download. Yeah, which is because I know money is a thing for a lot of people, but it was one of those things that I was just like, oh, this is so affordable, and I know exactly who the money's going to, which made me feel even better.
Love that. All right. Well, now it's my turn going last for once. And the thing I've brought yet another video game because it's what I've been spending most of my time with. And this game is actually my most anticipated game of 2023. It's one of my most anticipated games in a really long time. It's a little game called Sea of Stars. If you're not familiar, it is an indie RPG, turn-based RPG. It's by the people who created The Messenger, which was a side-scrolling action platformer kind of Metroidvania that played with time. And this is their follow-up that takes place in the same universe. And it is inspired by games like Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG and Breath of Fire. And it's got incredible pixel art, beautiful aesthetic, and incredible cast of characters. And the main crux of the story is solstice warriors in training, Valerie and Zale, grow up and some great evil takes hold and they have to fight back against it. And it's very much about love and family, but not romantic love, just kind of love of friends as family. It's got a character who you meet early on called Garl, Garl, who is the heart of the group. He's their best friend who is not a solstice warrior, and he is the warrior cook. He fights with a pot lid. It is just brilliant. He cooks his party food to show his love. And like, it's a story. The reason I love it, so I'm at the end of the game. I'm not going to spoil anything, but what I like about the base of this game is that it is a story about love and companionship and about kindness. A lot of RPG stories are about fighting God and being really cruel and like dark. And there is darkness in this world, but most of the characters fight back with how much they care about each other and their world, not just like it's not violence for the sake of violence. It is, all of it is kind of coming from a place of like they always try and ration with the enemies. They always try and like talk about how much they care, and the dialogue is just so brilliantly written. It's got a spice of humor that a lot of old Super Nintendo RPGs had. It is composed by, also the reason I love it as a Chrono Trigger fan is it is composed by Eric W. Brown working with Yasunori Mitsuda, who, if you recognize that name, is the main composer from Chrono Trigger. And so it's out on every platform. And I was lucky enough, I should say also here, just in case they listen, I was lucky enough to get a review code. So while it's only been out for a little less than a week, I've had it for a little more than 2 weeks, which is why I'm so far in it. And Tinsley PR provided me with a code from Sabotage Studio, who makes the game. And I'm very grateful to both of them for this opportunity, because it is, again, one of my most anticipated games. Both Jeff and I got codes for Fun and Games. Jeff, as of when we're recording, is in Seattle for PAX West. But when Jeff comes back, we are also going to record either a review or a preview or like maybe a topic episode based around Sea of Stars. But either way, we're really grateful on those codes. But that said, I was excited for this already, and it hasn't, like, it's rare that newer games topple games that I love, but by the time I finish Sea of Stars, it may not only be one of my favorite RPGs of all time, but it might dethrone Shovel Knight as like my favorite indie game of all time.
Whoa,
right? Which is a big
Shovel
deal.
Knight.
I do. So, because it's from the music to the aesthetics to the beautiful pixel art, it's got dynamic lighting in a pixel art based game, which is not a thing you really see.
I've only seen that in like Octopath Traveler with like the way the reflection of the water, the way they did that was so cool. And
also it's got character portraits like a lot of RPGs of the time had, but they have multiple character portraits for each character that show different emotions and expressions. All the characters that you meet are really interesting. And then for me, the big thing, without spoiling the connection, they've said that this takes place in the same world as Sea of Stars. They are completely the same world, I'm sorry, as The Messenger. Mm-hmm. There are not only references to stuff that happens in The Messenger, but direct connections. Like, you see things that if you've played The Messenger completely pay off. Like, you don't have to figure it out or remember. It's obvious. And I don't want to, again, spoil what those things are, but it's very cool. Because a lot of video games, if they're in the same world, they're the same genre. What's really neat about this is one game where you play as a ninja and you're side-scrolling platforming in the game to then go play an RPG in that same world. Most games like stay in the same genre of game in its world. This jumped around, and while I would love a sequel to The Messenger or Sea of Stars after this, I kind of hope whatever the third game is that the studio makes is in a different genre, like a first-person shooter or a
visual
novel. Like,
God, I love a visual novel.
Like, literally, I think it's such a brilliant idea to grow a world using different genre types, because then also, like, I have a friend who loves JRPGs who now has gone back to play The Messenger, and he likes Metroidvanias but wouldn't have played it, but now that he's played this and knows the connections, went back and is loving The Messenger also. And I love that. It's a great way to expose people to new genres besides just being a studio making the same games. Like, the reason I played Hades is because even though I don't like roguelikes, I do love the other games that Supergiant made, and that's also a strong pull. But having a continuous story or continuous world of stories with different genres, I think, is really smart too. And so, yeah, it's been really great. I will hopefully wrap it up this weekend, and it has a new game plus, so I'm sure I'll play it again. But also, because I got a code, I'll probably buy the Switch version now that it's out, because I want a physical copy of it because I didn't get a physical copy of The Messenger when it came out, and I regret it now. But also, I can wait to play it again. But the Switch is, I'm playing it on the Steam Deck, which is great and is a good second fiddle to the Switch, but I love my Switch more. I just do. And so I'd much rather play it there. But it's incredible. And if you're someone who's not sure about turn-based RPGs, but you want to give them a try, this also is one of the more approachable RPGs I've ever played. So in this game, you get things called relics, and the game starts you with 2, and then you have to find and buy the rest. But what the relics do is they're on-off switches, and you can use these different relics to. It's essentially a compatibility mode and accessibility mode. Like one of the first relics you get boosts your health by 100%, and you heal automatically after every battle. So if you're someone who is not good at the RPG side, but want to see the story, a relic like that early game will make it much easier for you, where the later game, when enemies do more damage, it won't, but it'll allow you to kind of build yourself up or get used to the mechanics. There's also one you get early on. So this game does timed hits. If you're an RPG fan, you'll know what this is. But if you're not, timed hits in RPGs essentially is, as a character strikes, if you time the button press, they'll strike again. It's popular in Mario RPG, is one of the more famous ones. And so in this game, it's kind of timing and visual, but there's a relic that makes like a kind of shine happen, a sparkle on screen, so you know when to hit the button more obviously. And so that's also really accessible for folks who like can't really tell the difference in the details or whatever. And so there are a bunch more that you get later on that make you use less MP, or like whatever, make you automatically block attacks, because they're timed blocks as well. And I love this idea. So folks who maybe don't love RPGs or are just not familiar with them, they can kind of ease into it. There are only a few things that I've played in the late game that, like, for someone who has accessibility issues might struggle with, but beyond that, anything required to beat the game, to finish the game itself, the base game, super easily to do. And like there are stuff, and like I've died a bunch, but it's like misjudging combos or certain big attacks or whatever. Like it's definitely an approachable game in a way that I think a lot of older RPGs and even some of the newer ones weren't. And so that's also really exciting about it, because I love when companies do that. It's kind of my favorite thing about modern gaming, is making it so people who maybe aren't familiar with those genres can engage in them.
So everybody deserves to get through a video game without becoming so frustrated that they can't successfully do it,
Totally.
Absolutely.
You
sold me.
Yeah, I mean, well, and knowing you, Matty, and how much you love your Switch, I highly recommend you getting it on Switch. I think you'll really dig it. Also, like, I know you'll love these characters, and I know the kind of writing you like. You too, Rachel. I think, like, especially knowing how much you've fallen in love with Zelda and some other like popular franchises over the last few years, especially, like, I really think you would dig this game. And here's the thing also, if you've not played The Messenger, doesn't matter. Any of the revelations that are connected to The Messenger are important if you've played The Messenger, but if you haven't, are just things. And like they fit the story and won't matter to you. And so I recommend this for even folks who have not played The Messenger, though I do recommend The Messenger highly as well. It's an incredible game. So yeah, it's been really exciting. I really dig it. The music is incredible. It's got one of the best boss battle themes I think I've ever heard in a video game. You can actually listen to it. It's called Encounter. It's by Eric W. Brown. It's on Spotify right now. The full soundtrack is not, but you can hear that song. I highly recommend it. It's just a bop.
I love video games with bops.
Yeah. And so I'll probably also, the next episode, depending on when I watch it, there is The Escapist did a half-hour documentary on the making of this game, which I haven't watched yet, but I plan to, because I love a documentary about game development, because the more we learn, the more it's demystified, which is super important. So that's Sea of Stars. It's really great.
Well, Matt, if you had to summon up some words from the depths of hell, commune with Cthulhu to help you review Sea of Stars, in just 3 words, which 3 words would you choose?
Friendship matters most.
Friendship matters most. Oh, that's too cute.
Yeah, it really is an astounding story. And like, for me, as someone who loves Chrono Trigger, is my favorite game of all time, and few games have come, like, many games have come close but not dethroned it. Like, I might like this more than Chrono Trigger, only because it's building on what Chrono Trigger made successful in a modern game with more accessibility. And like, it has a new game plus mode, which I haven't tried yet, but like, I love that about Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger had multiple endings, whereas I think this just has an ending and then a true ending. And like the reason New Game Plus is integral to Chrono Trigger is because there's like 8 or 10 endings. But still, I really dig it, and I could see myself. And importantly, it's only like 30 hours to finish.
Wow,
So like
it's
not an 80-hour RPG, and so like I could see myself replaying this every year because it's actually short enough as an RPG that I could get through it. So, yeah. But now it is
use this one to get good at RPGs.
There you go. It would be fun, I think, for you to stream too, Rachel. I think it's got like
I'm getting back to it.
Yeah.
Nobody's giving me money for other things.
Capitalism.
Everybody go on strike. Let's go. I'm ready. I can hang. I can
Let's do
vibe.
it.
But as I mentioned earlier, our lovely Matty Limerick, besides being a prolific podcaster, doing probably safe to say too many podcasts like we all do.
Yes, always.
Is also on a cruise ship. So maybe tell our audience a little bit about what's going on with that, like how you ended up on a cruise ship, because it's pretty cool.
So I won't say the company name, but if it comes out, I do not speak for the brand or the company. But post pandemic, I had graduated with a master's in costume design and technology, and I was doing the theme park hustle in Orlando, and it just kind of popped up one day, and I applied for it, and it's been a little bit of a process just because you are like I'm a wardrobe supervisor, so I oversee a costuming team, and all of our shows, we do large scale Broadway shows, like not Broadway style shows, but actual Broadway shows on board with the Broadway designs. And so and so everybody's like, oh, well, it's the job you do on land. And it's like, yeah, but when we are here, we're also actually crew. So like, I need to be able to like step up and help in an emergency. If we Titanic the ship, I have to be able to, do things. So that there is quite the physicals and medical things that we have to go through. And it just kind of happenstance. I was supposed to be on another ship. Something happened. I ended up on this ship, and it's been a really interesting experience. I think by the end of this contract, we will have done 37 or 40 ports in like 12 or 13 countries, which is in 6 months. Yeah, it's been a very cool experience. Also like video game shopping in other countries, and like being able to figure out like, oh, what's open coded, what's open language coded versus what's not been open language coded, and just fun little things, just weird little things like that. But yeah, it's been like an odd thing, but it's been very fun. I have an incredible cast of people with me who've done this before, so it's been a lot of just exploring. And I always try to find like pockets of queerness. So like even we were in Istanbul at one point, which is a city I've always wanted to go to, but also Turkey is notoriously not safe for queer people. So the first thing I did was like, well, let's find the queer strongholds, because there's always a queer stronghold.
There's always a queer stronghold. There's always been a queer stronghold. You can never take it from us.
It's true. We will be like the cockroaches, because we will outlive all of you with share. It's fine.
Yes.
We will exist beyond. We always have. But
yeah, you book us on cruise ships now to work double duty as costumers and as first aid. But we were the oracles of antiquity. We communed with your gods. Thank you very much. Let us go to Istanbul and find each other.
It's true. It's absolutely true. But like, I've also gotten to do little things, like we did Athens one day and going to the Parthenon, and like I vibe with Dionysus because like, I love the Percy Jackson books, and I was like, well, if I had a godparent, it's clearly the god of chaos, wine, and theater. So like, so like going to that shrine and like stealing a little pebble, like those little things of like just like building a little. Well, and like because of Rachel, because of you, I've gotten very much into tarot and more spirituality than I was before. So like doing tarot readings for myself in these notoriously old spiritual places and things has just been a really cool vibe, if you will.
Amazing.
Yeah. So long story long. That's kind of how I ended up here.
Long story beautiful.
But if we're also talking about like striking and things, this was also just a post-pandemic theater was barely paying a living wage before. They're certainly not paying a living wage after. And I saw this opportunity, and they literally are paying double what most theaters are paying on land, and
Wow.
I get to travel with it too. So, it's also been like I'm one of 25 Americans out of a 1,650 person crew. So it's
Wow.
also been really interesting and eye-opening to get to live with other people from other cultures socially and just kind of see how everything happens and watch some of my castmates who are a little more privileged in ways, seeing how Americans treat everybody else internationally is how Americans get treated on board. And it's been a giggle for me to watch. But it's one of those things that I was like, I'm almost 40 and I just chose to like let my apartment go, sell my car, put everything in storage and just go, well, let's go where the money is, and this is where the money was. So it's one of those things that it was just a choice of the people I wanted to work for and with were not paying a living wage, and I couldn't support that. So I just kind of came out here and did this.
Wild.
Amazing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
Well,
and also like you get to go see places in the world and
It's
essentially get paid to do it. Like that's
Absolutely.
righteous.
Yeah.
My
really
my
is.
best friend and bandmate and friend of the show, Mark Turner, also did cruises for this mega corporation, and was a character in it. The boy who doesn't grow up. That one.
Oh, that the company I
With-
used to absolutely
Yep.
fawn over. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and I remember
I know her well.
Mark telling me that because that was the first iteration of that particular production that they were doing on the cruises, that's what played in the suites. So he was on video long after he was gone. As the little boy in green.
It sounds like we're describing a princess party where they can't call them by the real characters, but it's like the boy who doesn't grow up.
Teacup
and you know exactly
lady.
who's going to show.
Teacup cave lady, whole lady, looking glass girl.
Yeah, looking glass girl.
Even though these characters existed long before this rodent took them, but it's still just like, yeah, you stole these for fair use, and now it feels like we can't even use them in fair use because you've made that one thing that thing.
If we're talking about striking, they're one of the biggest perpetrators of why everyone's striking right now.
Yep.
So,
that hungry, greedy fucking rat. Let me tell you.
Let me tell you, just because you guys both live in New York and I lived in New York for years, I'm shocked nobody has done one of those big inflatable rats that looks like that rodent. And had out at certain places.
Busted. They get so busted.
Well, I mean, you could do it. I mean, if you know how trademark law works, you could have it look just almost like it and get right there. But like, it's something I'm just shocked has not happened yet, frankly, because of how many violations they have made over the years working.
Yeah, that's fair.
Always goes back to the strike.
Yeah, that's true. But also I do want to talk about for a little bit, because the last time you were here, you were promoting Dole Whip and Dreams, which is now since converted to Saturday Morning Confidential. And Saturday Morning Confidential has now had many little babies of podcasts that are in that feed as well.
Babies. Yeah.
And so, like,
you put water on one of your podcasts and it just like sprung out more podcasts.
It's true. I'm proof that as gays we can procreate. It can happen.
It can be done. Life finds a way.
But you have, so now you have, which is a separate show. You have Exit Stage Death. You have the Champions Path, which is a Pokemon podcast, which I've had the privilege of being on. You have Saturday Morning Confidential, which is the most is kind of the umbrella. And then you were also doing short form stuff like side quests for a while too. Like update our audience a little bit on the kind of stuff you've been working on since like this kind of evolution has happened.
Yeah. Well, so I kind of have that problem of I'm too much of an idea person, and I often girl boss too close to the sun, and I'm like,
no idea
I want to do
like.
it, and I want to figure it out.
Too close to the sun. Oh no! Oh no!
to steal the TikTok sound, but yeah, no, I will have ideas, and a lot of times it'll just be linked to. I often hate asking other people to do things, so I'll just be like, well, fuck it, I'll figure out how to do it myself. and it's a learning experience. It's why I did Inklings years ago, because I wanted to figure out how to do Foley, and so I was like, well, let's figure it out. And, there have been certain times where I'll be sitting around and I'll just go, I'm bored. I've got time. Let's figure something out, which, going up till the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet release, I just, you and I will scream about Pokemon all day, every day with each other. It's what we'll do. I often will just message you with something and be screaming about Pokemon.
Yes.
And
yes.
but it's something that we all have so many different backgrounds, and it's truly such an all-encompassing franchise that is so important to me, and I know it's so important to other people. That's why I wanted to start the Champions Path. And also, I find a new Pokemon release is often polarizing because people have unrealistic expectations of everything. And so I just wanted to put as much positive spin on it because there was so much negativity around Scarlet and Violet. And so that's where the Champions Path came from, which you have been on. Jeff Moonen has also been on. That was just a fun thing to also just also it ended up being so many queer people talking about how they found so much solace in their queerness through Pokemon. Or I just released an episode with my friend Beatrice Decker, who was like, she realized she was trans because of Pokemon, which I was like,
hell yeah.
It's just,
Hell yeah.
But also like as a non-binary person, just being like, oh, gender euphoria is having Jesse and James as an icon and a legend. It's just those little things, but it's also, I found now that it's like, I have a friend I've made on board who wants to do a podcast and was just overwhelmed with it. And I was like, well, let me produce it for you. I haven't produced somebody else's show yet. So let me produce that for you. So it's been figuring out that thing of like, oh, this is what I love to do. But, maybe I don't have to make money from it right now, but it's something that it can be my outlet. It can be something. So I've had so many interests in my lifetime that I realize other people on the internet do too. And so even if it's a show I'm making for 100 people a month to listen to, I like connecting with them and also figuring out, like with Exit Stage Death, my co-host Em and I figuring out how, as theater people, we're very dramatic and we like telling stories and we like sensationalizing things. But it's when we're talking about true crime or stories that affected real people who are still alive, how can we, as storytellers or as people who are telling these stories again, how can we best serve the victims or best serve the people whose stories we're telling? So a lot of it's been, how can I better myself as a person, kind of figuring out podcasting. So yeah, I've lots of little things. And sometimes you throw things at the wall and they just don't work. Or, I had the hubris to think that I could still produce full time and release episodes while I'm in a floating metal box, which just wasn't happening. And it's okay to admit that sometimes we have to take a step back, but
everybody deserves a break.
Yeah. And so, it's like with Saturday Morning Confidential became something that I needed after Dole Whip and Dreams, just because I had to leave the mouse cult and figure out how I could best serve. And now Saturday Morning Confidential, I didn't feel was best serving all of my listeners and myself. And so it's figuring out how we then evolve to that next level of what we can do. So playing with the idea of releasing smaller limited run series versus one continual series that I just release all the time. So that's that is a non-answer to say I'm doing lots and not doing anything at all, but also diving into fiction and how we can tell stories that are educational and also funny. So, playing with the ideas of some cryptid stories and some things that are going to come in the future that I can, produce and don't have to worry about a release schedule. But yeah, I've been exploring different things and with finding horror, learning how to tell a spooky story or what makes something interesting. So I released a little program called Leyline Radio, which is stories that could be true or not. You have to figure that out. About towns where magnetic ley lines cross in places where you just kind of can't explain. And so about half, I think I've released 8 episodes of that, and 4 of them are true and 4 of them are fictional. And it's up to everyone to figure out which ones are real and which ones aren't. And they might not be the ones that you think.
Real Jonathan Frakes over here.
A little bit. We're just playing with things because also the world is on fire, so why not have fun while we're watching it go down?
Do what brings you joy. That is the most radical thing you can do in a society that wants to remove your joy from you and make you a drone.
Absolutely.
I love so much this idea of doing these limited run things because it really does give you the chance to plan something with a beginning, a middle, and end, and then sort of change, not to speak too much to our experience here on sort of our never ending evergreen podcast. I mean, less evergreen now because we're kind of having to live through a current event very, very openly on this show.
Yes.
We don't really elect when our change comes. We just kind of follow when it needs to happen. So it must be very interesting to like see the ending of things and then like feel that evolution sort of in real time, almost with more control and steering. You're not sort of like reacting to needing to change. You've decided I will grow in this direction now. I will follow this. I really commend you on that, because sometimes it's really easy as a creator to find a routine that works and just stick to it in perpetuity.
Yeah. Well, and I just found that it also helps when I can approach a friend and be like, listen, we're going to do 12 episodes. I really want you to be the other voice on with me. I think it only works with you. Can we commit to, 2 months of a recording schedule? I then edit for 3 months, and then we can release everything and we never have to worry about it again, except, if you share it on social media. And it's been way easier to like plan future projects that way, of being like, I only need you to commit to 12 episodes. Like that's, so, it's a thing that's easier to sell. Or, I have so many friends who are actors that I'm like, they're having a rough spot. And I was like, I would just love to give them work. So it's doing those little things. It's been that opportunity, but also I'm sure you guys know this too. It can feel really easy to get stuck and not figure out what isn't working, but you kind of have to keep releasing things to figure out. And it can become really overwhelming. Like with Saturday Morning Confidential, I started releasing just what I was calling the case file episodes, which in the beginning started as oh crap, I had somebody flake on an episode, I just have to record one. And it ended up being it's still like my highest downloaded episode of all time. And I was like, wait, is this something people want? And then, I would do that once every 6 months. And so I just switched the show over to that. And then I got the lowest rating, like lowest listenership ever. And I went, okay, maybe this isn't something we need all the time, because maybe it's as fun and an interesting, insane person as I think I am. Just a constant stream of thought for me isn't necessarily going to be what someone's going to want to listen to for half an hour. It's not going to serve, enriching them, because podcasts people come to for escape. I feel like I'm Nicole Kidman in the AMC commercial. But, we all come to podcasts for certain reasons, and I want to make sure that that's serving those people. So it's nice to know that like maybe it's not going to work, but we've got this thing and we're going to release it because somebody's going to like it. But then I can use that to move on to the next project and go, okay, I don't have to feel so overwhelmed about what did work and didn't work. I can just move on, and we can, put aside the things that didn't and move forward with what did.
I love that. I mean, I think it's one of those things that, like, honestly, if Rachel wasn't my co-host, I don't know that we would have been able to roll this way. Like, I'm grateful to have a co-host that when I called the day that the strike rules came out, I went, what are we going to do?
You're so lucky I'm in wrestling school now, because I think I would have been like, nah. Now it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody threw me on the ground in a way that I'd never done before. Someone's just like, I think I'm gonna do a sidewalk slam. And I'm like, I've never done one of those. Will you teach it to me? I can show you how to post real quick. Okay, cool. And then we did it for the first time in the ring in front of people. I'm so nonplussed these days. I'm like rolling with whatever.
And so I'm grateful for that. But also, like, I think that you have to do what's best for you. I shuttered autographs. It still exists. You can still listen to it, but I retired it this year because, first of all, I got some of the big interviews that I've always wanted to get, and B, because booking that and this show were competing with each other. Even though they're different shows, the second half of the show is an interview. And I just felt I'd rather book guests for this show than my one-on-one interview show, because I enjoy doing this show more now, because it's mostly goofs with some actual information.
Yeah.
And
we always get inspired too. Like the idea of being able to like let something go and move on that you're bringing to the table, Matty, is a really great perspective to take forward for folks listening and for us sitting right here. Like it's okay to say, let's change it entirely. Let's end this,
Yeah.
The ephemeral nature of art, even in a world where we want content. Bringing up that content from last week, our content to sort of be a perpetual motion machine of attention generation, you know, so it's nice
Yeah.
to see that we're still standing and going, no, things can just be one thing and then nothing ever again. We don't need sequels. We don't need universes spinning off into universes. Get in, get out, get paid.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so like I'm grateful that you're able to, and also I love doing the Champions Path, and I think it's a brilliant. I got to connect you with one of my favorite Pokemon fans, Kenneth Shepard, who's a delight, who's been on this show, and like I love
delight.
that, like because we geeked out about it so much, the fact that you made a show like that to me was just like, oh yeah, of course Matty was going to do this, right? And so it's just fun to see you kind of spread your wings, because also like we had you on the Fun and Games Pokemon Anniversary special, and we did that crossover episode and all of that, and so like it just. Seeing these evolutions that you're taking makes so much sense to me, and I love that you've had this kind of space now to kind of do it, because you have a job that you enjoy and that is an interesting experience that you can kind of predict what your schedule will be. And even though it's a little harder maybe being where you are, you also have some security, which makes doing some of those things easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and it also, I was just looking around because, you know, everybody has a podcast now. Everybody that has a, you know, everybody can afford a Yeti microphone now. So it's like, I looked, and one, it shocks me the Pokemon Company does not have an official podcast. What is wrong with you, Pokemon Company?
Bizarre.
Again, call your friend. I would love to come work for you. But yeah, it was just also the fact that there were like 8 Pokemon podcasts, and most of them had been shuttered because they were all Pokemon Go centric. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, we got to do that then. That just makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really dope, and I hope you continue to be able to grow the stuff that you want to grow and evolve while you continue to do this awesome work.
Evolve.
But it's really great to have you back on the show. Thank you for taking time to chat with us again.
Yeah, thanks for taking time away from your adventure on the high seas.
Of course. I wish it was a little higher. That is the one thing we can't be on board.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Sorry.
Which is funny. We're going to Amsterdam in like 2 weeks, and I'm just going, oh man.
It's okay. Just get really baked on land and just toddle your way back. It's cool.
Of course.
I mean, obviously.
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 Well, Matty, before we wrap up the show, why don't you tell folks where they can find you online, the best places they can connect and check out your stuff?
Oh, yeah. So we're pretty streamlined now. So it's just SMC Podcast on Instagram, Saturday Morning Confidential on Facebook. I just release everything through there. There's a link tree on our Instagram that's got all of our stuff. And then through the Certain Point of View Discord, it's always the easiest ways to connect. We left the little bird app. And so that's I've been keeping it very chill recently, so reach out. I'm very likely to respond quickly on all those. But yeah, come play.
Yeah, you should definitely check out this Instagram. Matty and co have made adorable little Pokemon cards for their guests.
It's amazing.
That are absolutely darling with their gym type. And just little stats. So even if you don't listen to, which you should listen to, but like, go check that out. That was really cute. I was doing the joke of like, I already follow listeners, and I was just like taken aback by how precious those cards were.
It was a thing that I was like, oh, how am I going to do episode marketing? And then I was like, clearly you need the trainer profile, because in every game there's like, they've been doing the trading cards. I'm just replaying Sword and Shield right now. And I was just like, oh, I need to build everybody a little trainer card, because it's just the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. And like you get to sort of know more about the guest just by visual, like who they choose as their Pokemon team. I love that.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing.
Matty, that's so cute. I want to die.
Thank you.
Well, Matty, thank you again for joining us.
Matty.
Hang tight for a sec while we wrap up the show, and then Rachel will ask you the evolution
dismount.
The evolution of our final. Well, I mean, the final question is still kind of the same. It's just broader now. But Rachel, we should probably thank some folks.
Yes, thank you first and foremost to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Rimble, an independently produced song. We love to see it.
We
cannot find it on Instagram though. Made me real sad because I wanted to use that track real bad. But you can go listen to it on the places where you listen to your musics.
And we also like to thank the incredible Katie Bug, aka Katie Beast, for making our redesigned, incredibly hot logo.
Boy, oh boy. I didn't realize that I actually am getting quite hot over here until that picture came out.
So
like,
you've always been.
I've got a good back now. What is happening? It's crazy.
You've both always been hot. Come on now. You've both always been hot.
I can just body slam people now. It feels really good.
But yes, thank you for that incredible logo. And of course, also thank you to the designer of our individual episode art, the one and only Case Aiken.
No, I'm going to body slam him. I'm going to lift him in the air and throw him on the ground.
I would pay money. I would pay money.
You know what?
It's going to happen.
Matty, question mark right there.
And then, of course, we should probably thank our podcast network.
Yes, thank you so much to the Certain Point of View Podcast Network for continuing to allow us to be part of the show. We have network, not show. It's the whole show. It's a big circus.
The show of shows.
It's a show of shows. It's a big circus of podcasts. You can enter the big tent of fun and see all of the circus beings in our little 3-ring. When you go to the website, certainpov.com.
True.
Yeah, I decided just to elevate that circus metaphor all the way to its zenith. We love what we're doing over there. We're like Casey Jr. coming down the track, and you can hop on board our Discord server. Links can be available on certainpov.com and down in the doobly-doo of this show right here that you're listening to. Go look at that text. Go read it. Matt writes it. It's great.
It's true. I do. And also, you can find links to rate and review this podcast on Spotify as well as on Apple Podcasts. Those are the two best places. It only takes a moment. You can even scan ahead on Spotify because you have to listen a certain amount of time to rate on Spotify, but you can scan ahead and it counts. So I've done it for a bunch of podcasts. Go do it for Maddie's podcast. Do it for our podcast. Do it for everybody.
Podcasts. Yeah.
Literally, if you listen to any podcast, do it.
While you're doing it, yell at a bird.
Yell at a bird. Why not? We haven't yelled at a bird in a while.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I think now is a great time for you to ask Matty our final question.
Yes. We've already asked Matty what trope we would choose for life to magically happen. So I'm gonna ask a different question. A Pokemon-based question. If you could have any one power of a Pokemon, what would it be?
Ooh.
Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Ooh. Oh man. No, I know how my guests feel when I
know, right? Isn't it great when you get put on the hot seat? You're like, oh shoot.
It's hard because like as I become an elder femme, I just want to look as large and imposing and unapproachable as I can.
The path of the true femme now. We're all getting buff. The
true.
femmes, we're getting strong.
True. Well, it's because like I had to I just stopped some medical things this past year and just dropped a ton of weight unintentionally. And so I joked with my trainer when I was coming back. I was like, I just need big boobies and big butt. That's all we need to work on for that time. Okay. It would probably be. I think I've got to go with my girl Espeon, who just has like the general like the psychicness of Espeon. One, because it would also make my job easier. Because I always joke that I was like, costumer, clearly you should probably have like Sylveon and Espeon, because like Espeon just can make quick changes happen. I'd probably say like psychic, like just the use of the oh god, wait, you had to ask me this. But I also thought of like scary face would be funny too, or something like that.
Just to get people out of your face when they're giving you a hard time.
Absolutely, yeah. Just because
good answers.
I have the kind of face that I could have headphones in. I could be reading on public transport, and someone will still flag me down to start a conversation with.
Yeah. I have resting nice face. I call it. It's annoying.
I have pink hair, and it is an invitation. Not in the way I want sometimes. It's fine.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, Matty, thank you again for joining us. This was lovely.
Thanks, Matty.
We both miss you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss you guys. Thank you for having me on.
And I also want to thank my pink-haired, brilliant, and badass co-host, the one and only Rachel Quirky Shank.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I would like to thank my slow motion breakdown podcast host, Matt, aka Stormageddon, for all he does in this world, on this show, and in my life. I love you, bud.
I love you too, although not an inaccurate description depending on the day.
Yeah, it's kind of universal at this point. Everything. It all is.
We also, of course, want to thank you, our incredible listeners. We will see you at the picket line or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Have you ever sat on a long commute or a dull day in the office and let your mind wander back to the days of rectangle pizza, bowls and bowls of sugar cereal, and gushing over your favorite cartoons and movies in school, and worry that those favorites from childhood won't hold up today? Well, the Saturday Morning Confidential podcast answers those questions for you. Host Matty Limerick sits down with artists and creators of today to pull back the veil of nostalgia to talk about what's great and what we would change in hindsight years later. So pull on your comfiest PJs, pour yourself a bowl of your favorite cereal, and take a deep dive into the files of Saturday Morning Confidential. Releasing bi-weekly on Saturdays, available on your favorite podcast platforms and at certainpov.com.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.